The Alfie Whattam podcast.
The stages of getting a job are, the point of a CV is to get an interview. Then the point of an interview is to get the job. So if we broke it down to those core fundamentals and first principles, if we start with CVs, you've all reviewed lots of CVs when you have people interviewing for you and wanting to work at your companies. What do you think makes a good CV? What advice would you give to people preparing resumes? What are the red flags to look out for? What are the mistakes to make? Let's start with yourself. What advice would you give when putting together a resume?
I think the main advice I'd give is to tailor it to the job that you're applying for.
Yeah.
Because obviously they're looking for like set skills and experience and that kind of thing. So a generic CV just kind of doesn't wash with me personally. I think it kind of shows that they're interested in the role. They've done a bit of research as well, and it kind of highlights the key things that you might be looking for, and maybe even touching on some of those, I guess, the things which are outside the box that you want to try and bring in as well, like that culture ad that you mentioned.
Yeah.
So yeah, it doesn't really take that long to kind of like tweak a few things, add a few metrics in there to kind of say like what are the key results that you fed into and that kind of thing. And I think that's probably the key bit of advice from me.
Such a small thing, but if you're applying for a property company and you previously worked in property, then talk about that. Have a sentence at the top of your CV which discusses how you love that industry, that sector, and that's what you want to do more. So yeah, definitely good pearls of wisdom. Andy, what would your kind of key CV tips be?
I think the opening paragraph is important. Yeah. You want to show you're passionate, enthusiastic, like all of those soft skills around you as a person.
Yeah.
I think having a mixture of skills, both soft and technical, are also important. So like showing what tech stacks you've worked with, but also sharing the fact that you're a good communicator or you've got experience with documentation, whatever it might be. And lastly, I think experience is key. And if you don't have experience, so say, for example, you're a junior coming into a role and you're looking for a first role, then projects, do some projects, show some case studies, put some GitHub repos on your CV.
Yes.
Show that you're doing stuff to kind of outside of hours to create that experience for yourself, and I think that goes a long way.
Yeah, I mean, you can't fake experience. Obviously, that's not what we're talking about. But we are talking about side projects, hustles, independent work. That sort of thing will separate you from other graduates in that situation that haven't got the experience. So that's really important. And also, people that are good at what they do, they just do it for the fun of it rather than having to do it because of work. I mean, even if they're not getting paid, and if they're working on something exciting, something interesting, something topical, and you can get that on your CV, then that will definitely make you stand out. What would your advice be, Jess, when it comes to resumes?
Yes, I think, we're all really good at highlighting our skills and, what we can sell ourselves on. But I think it's really important to focus on our actual achievements as well. So have a few direct achievements in there, how you've helped build, what types of projects you've built, and, the kind of people you've worked with, or any kind of other missions that you've aligned with. Again, this can even be outside skills, so sort of side projects you do, etc., any courses you've done. And yeah, I think another thing that's really important as well in the opening paragraph, just show a bit of your personality as well, show who you are as a person. Like at the end of the day, we're hiring people, we're not just hiring you, for your skills. Like most people in tech have, a standard set of skills. So, show a bit of your personality, show what you're about.
That's a really good point. There's so many situations I can tell you over the years when I've got somebody a job through my recruitment agency because that person put on their CV that they're like Manchester United Football Club, and the hiring manager did as well, and that started the conversation. I don't really follow football. I don't know if that's a good example to use, but hobbies, interests, personality, something that separates you from just a piece of paper. We've got 5 minutes left, so let's finish off with interview advice. Getting the CV gets you the interview, then how do you get the job? What can be your number one tip when people are going to interview? You must have interviewed a lot of people. You must have red flags, things that you hate to see, things that you love to see. What's important to you when people are interviewing? Andy, what's your point of view?
I think you should remember that the hiring manager wants you to succeed.
Yeah.
So the person that's interviewing you wants you to be the best candidate, wants you to be the right person for the role, wants you to get the job as much as you do. So be confident, go in there, be brave, try and highlight the things you've achieved and be proud of it. And I think that will show through. Yeah,
absolutely. What would your take be?
It's something I've spoken about before with like sort of juniors entering the industry, and it's around like the idea of like interviewing the interviewer. So in other words, bringing like a good list of questions to ask them, and I guess in a way tailoring it so it's not kind of things that you could find out quite easily on the internet. It's the things that you really want to know about yourself, so like what are the career paths for me, and like what's a day-to-day look like in the team, and like what are the kind of people you'll be working with, and like really digging into the business and kind of projects you might be working on. So sort of the information that's not publicly available, because it kind of shows that you're really delving into the role and you want to know more. And like generally speaking, it will open up like a nice informal conversation with them. And again, it comes down to like Jess was saying there around bringing out that personality of the individual and bringing that into the interview, and just makes it a bit easier to manage, I think.
It just shows that you care, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, if you look up the company on Google News or look at the hiring manager's LinkedIn page and you went to the same university, it's something to reference. It's a great point of discussion, and it really does help separate you from the masses that don't do that sort of thing. Cool. And finishes off, Jessica, what's your top tip for interviews?
I would say, just as much as showing interest, go back to the original job spec, and how can you show that you're right for this role? Look at the different attributes on that job specification, and think about the examples and the advantages and everything that you can bring to that workplace based on the job spec. I think that's a really important thing to remember.
Yeah, keep it specific. Don't just write a CV for the sake of writing a CV. Look at the job description, customize that to your resume, tweak it, change it, and make them read. They wrote the JD a lot of the time, so if they're reading the CV and they're seeing words that are reflecting back to them that you've taken the time to read that, pay attention to it, and care, then that's going to come forth in the interview as well.
Hey, thanks for watching this YouTube video. If you want to see more like this, please remember to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.